Good day, good people. Welcome to another purpose-filled episode of Lessons for the Journey. This podcast is to share insights and information on women's wellness, understanding our whys, and the lessons that inspire us to take positive action in ourselves, our families, and our communities. Our topics focus on women's wellness, seen through a metaphysical lens, sharing spiritual insights, highlighting journey lessons, and most importantly, building healthy relationships. I'm your host, Dr. Hetheru Miller, and I share this space with engaging co-hosts, guests, inspiring topics, and every Friday at noon, you can find us here for this 1-hour transformative experience here on Podcast Live and Facebook. You can expect deep, thought-provoking conversations on self-discovery and personal growth, special guests, locations, events, people, polls, and thoughts, co-hosts sharing wisdom and life-changing insights, a powerful blend of spiritual, metaphysical, and wellness lessons, and finally, tools and strategies to help you elevate your mind, body, and your spirit. Our show is produced by Chantel Mosley of Podcastic Studios. Our co-hosts include Ma'at Sabah, Jada Rains, Nicole S. Miller, and Mary E. Bayou, who is our first Friday guest who blows our first Fridays away. We really want to help you to seek clarity, your healing strategies, personal empowerment. This podcast is really for you. We are sharing and pouring what we have already learned in this journey so that it makes your journey easier. So to do that, we need for you to tune in, turn up. We need for you to transform your mind, your body, and your spirit through this experience, because your journey of self-discovery with us starts now. So before you begin and we start this process of the topic for the day, I need for you to get your journal, your paper, pen, your notebook, because this one, as I always mention to you, is going to have something good in store for you. So you're going to need this lesson more than any of the other ones that have come your way. This is an important topic, and I'm so excited to have you here and joining us. So be prepared to evolve and be encouraged. So our topic for today, are you ready? Our topic for today is relationship karma. And what we're hoping the outcome for you is the tools to overcome past hurts, but to also understand what hurts, what seeds of hurt did you plant first? All right, so we always start with some reflective questions, and I always throw the first question. I pitch her this first question. So the first question is, how do you honor your truth when you have been raised or taught to practice that belief? What happens in this house stays in this house. Well, so how can you still honor your truth knowing that that is what you've been taught?
Well, in a situation like this, you more than likely are a child, or if you're living in the house with your parents, you don't have any power to do anything or to change anything. But what I would say is that if you have an issue with someone, that's your issue with them. It's not my issue with them if they didn't do anything to me. Mm-hmm. I also believe that when they say what happens in the house stays in the house, sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not. And you have to be able to discern when it is and when it's not. There are sometimes that there's challenges that happen in the house that if you speak on it, you can get assistance. And it's not because, don't be so prideful that you can't say, hey, I need help, and reach out to someone that can give you assistance. And then there are some times where there are some things that have happened in the household that are completely embarrassing, or, people are really ashamed. Like, say, for instance, you have a family member that did a horrendous act and they ended up in jail, and maybe other people don't know, but the household knows. And so you don't want to share that with anybody. And that's understandable. You have to respect everybody's position that they hold in it, the roles that they play in it. And so it's kind of a tricky situation, but all of that would be decided based upon the mental, emotional, and spiritual maturity of the people that are involved.
Ooh.
Children don't have any power. They can give their opinion if they feel that it's safe to be able to do so, that they'll be listened to, and that even if you listen to them, that maybe they'll take the advice and do something about it, because even though they're a child, that doesn't mean that they don't have wisdom. You know, children are our teachers as well as we're their teachers. They are our teachers if we would just pay attention to the lessons that they bring us.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's such deep insight. It's one of those things, I think, those messages, and sometimes hidden messages or messages under our family culture. We always call it acceptable culture, but under our family culture that keeps those secrets. And sometimes those secrets need to be aired much in a healing way and guided. But the more you keep that secret and you, those dark places that we have in our family and in our generation, I'm always reminded that God works through generation. And so when we miss the opportunity to heal it, that is recorded on our DNA as well, and that's passed down to the next generation. So how we make decisions today is not just about us. We do have a ripple effect outward to others, people around us and people who we may not even get a chance to meet, but we still have that ripple effect. But in our households and our upbringing, that effect goes, I was going to say horizontal, that's vertical. That impact goes vertical because it's recorded versus just impacted, rippled out. It's recorded and passed on. And so we have to be mindful that as we make those decisions and we follow what we have been taught as children. And so I think that message being taught as a family and to your children, what happens in our house stays in our house. If we don't rethink that and put it in perspective and right size it for who you are now, right size it for adults, because we also will take those things and we'll have men and women suffering from domestic violence because that recording is being played. What happens in this house stays in this house. So therefore I can't get you help and I can't get help because everybody, or it's going to be revealed, this secret is going to be revealed. And same thing with our illness. That's we often take that position that, if I'm going through a health challenge, what happens in my house stays in my house. So I don't share with my family or people who love me that I'm going through this, where their support and energy feeding back to me could be just part of the medicine that I need for my healing. And so it reverberates in so many different ways in our relationships that I think that it just has to be right sized. And I like that you talked about it in terms of maturity. It has to be right sized. That message has to be remastered. And as you become adult, you have to right size that for who you are as an adult and what that means in each individual situation. Now, there's some things that may happen between a husband and wife that is just not public information. It's no reason to, have those conversations and put that information on social media and, all of those kinds of things. Now, that is right sizing and maturity that we need to help us guide and be guided through those types of events. But overall, I'm with you. It's a level of maturity that we get to, but it's also some level of cultural norms that have to be right sized. It has to be reestablished in a way that it helps us and not hinders us. When it starts to hinder, and it starts to cause pain, then that is the time. It's an indicator that something else needs to happen or go alongside with that. So thank you for that.
I wanted to share one more thing too. There's always a healer or a messenger in every generation. Sometimes in every family, it just depends. And if that person understood who they were in the position that they hold as the teacher or the messenger, and that person is usually the so-called quote-unquote weirdo in the family, not realizing that they have the capacity to bring a message to the family that can promote healing if even they understood what their position and their role was, and if the family understood it and respected it. And a lot of times, by the time they find out that the weirdo in the family is the one that really has the answers, then they will kind of come back with the tail between their legs and start to ask them questions. But it's a process that usually takes time, again, until the messenger or the healer knows that they are the messenger and the healer. Then they can assume that role and become strong enough in it, because you are the one that's been rejected all of your life. And so now you have to deal with not only that rejection, being able to stand in the position of knowing that is what you're here, one of the things that you're here to do, and have the strength to do it, being strong enough to know that you might be ostracized, talked about, and rejected for what you're trying to share as well. Yes. So that's just a little nugget that I'd like to share with people, that there's a healer / messenger in every, I'm going to say generation, and it's possible every family as well. Mm-hmm. Just look for the so-called weirdo. For sure. So our second question for reflection is, what are your top 3 spiritual laws that help you overcome your fears? Top 3 spiritual laws that help you overcome your fears. Chantel, I want you to chime into this too, because I know this is a major one for you too. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pitching.
Okay, so there are many spiritual or universal laws. Spiritual laws, universal laws, natural laws. They're called by different names. For the purposes of this conversation, we'll say spiritual laws. The law of cause and effect. For every effect, there's a cause, and for every cause, there's an effect. Typically, we only look at the effect, but we never look at the cause, especially when it comes to finger pointing. This person did that, they said that to me, and then you get to raise the victim flag. But there is a cause before that. And so learning to look for the cause, how did I get here? Why did this happen to me? And understanding that cause is a lesson, is not a punishment. We're not here to be punished. We're here to learn lessons, and everything is a lesson, and every person that we have an interaction with is our messenger, and they're bringing us the lessons for us to learn in life. So when you understand this and you start to have a different perspective on life and why we're here, what we're here to do, then you're not quick to say these things are happening to me, not assuming responsibility in your role. For every cause, there's an effect. But you'll be able to look at it and appreciate the fact that you're getting ready to learn something about yourself to give you the opportunity to change, heal, be better. The other one would be the law of attraction. And according to the law of, I take that back. The law that is called the law of mind or the law of thought, depending on which resources you look at. So for every thought that you have, you unknowingly to you begin to manifest those things that you think about into your life. Perfect example, like say for instance, you want a candy apple red Corvette. And you keep thinking about this candy apple red Corvette. And then the next thing you know, there's one pulling up on the side. There's one in the parking lot when you go to park at the store. You start seeing candy apple red Corvettes that you've never seen before. Is that a coincidence? No. It's the law of attraction, the law of thought, triggering the law of attraction to magnetize what you're thinking to you. So both the positive and negative, you draw everything. If you think it long enough and put enough emotion to it, you magnetize that thing to you. So those people that think negatively, fearful, you are going to magnetize things that you fear and negativity to you until you learn differently. It's a law. It's not, nothing's happening to you. As they say, if it's being done to you, it's been done by you.
Ooh.
And
that was good.
I think the last
relationship first date, Lord.
The last one is the law of attraction, and that I don't make a big deal about that because it is triggered by the law of thought. So if you think something, you're going to attract that thing to you. But those are three of the most important laws to me for people to start to begin to understand and practice, learn about it, practice it, make peace with the fact that I'm created, whatever it is going on in my world, I'm creating this for me to learn a lesson about me.
That was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Chantel, what would you say would be yours? And you can use the theme or the spirit of it. Okay. You don't have to give it a title necessarily.
The exact. Okay.
Yeah,
so one that I was looking into was just the law of the polarity. And it's pretty much that everything has an opposite, and growing up in a world and understanding that everything is not going to be always good was something that I had to really grasp, because we don't picture life bad. We don't picture life with obstacles and things like that. We just think it's supposed to be smooth sailing. So when we come to those challenges and things like that we have to overcome, adjust, or adapt to, it can be life-changing. And depending on how you adjust and adapt to that is how things, just kind of flows in your life. So understanding that for every good, there can be a bad. For every, good day, it can be a bad day. Happiness, you can be sad. And those are just the normal things of life, and it's what to expect. And it's going to be okay. The law of attraction is another one for me, because I hear all the time, you are what you attract. I agree with that to a certain extent, because it's whatever you're putting out is what you're getting back. But then I also looked at it like the law of attraction may not be just who you are, but pretty much you'll get people that you need to maybe heal or get a message to, is how I kind of look at that as well. So I don't always look at it as a bad thing. And then just the law of rhythm, understanding that everything kind of just has and goes at its own pace, is another one for me. So
wow. I'm so my thoughts are just crossing over both of you.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be seated by your thoughts too. I think about kind of the law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so that one is really helpful to me in terms of, even I'm talking about in terms of overcoming that fear factor. And I think as it on earth as it is in heaven, and vice versa. And so when I'm facing that, I'm like, well, what does this look like? What does this look like in spirit? What does this look like in the physical? And that helps me to find that balance. And so and it helps me to remove the fear. Like I have to literally, like you're unbraiding your hair. That's how I take fear apart. Like it's one strand at a time. What is the fear? What is it, the anxiety? And can you name what that thing is? And I take that apart, like that strand of the braid apart. And then I think about what is triggering it. Then I take that part up. And so I can reflect on those two things. And that third strand will give me whatever the revelation I need to help remove whatever that sting of fear or the start of fear might be. And so I really go through this process, and literally in my mind, it looks like unraveling a braid. And so that's how I practice that particular law. And the other, I think about cycles and seasons so much, the law of vibration or rhythm, right? That there are always cycles and seasons. And so when I think about that, I will reset to whatever season it is. Like we're moving in from spring into summer, so I can leverage what that feels like to me. The greening of the leaves, the mating of the animals. Like I can relate all of those things to the seasons, and then I look at things in terms of frequency. And that's probably the third way that I put this in perspective about fear is I know that either it's something that I'm eating that's lowering my frequency, my vibration, and taking me into this space where I'm calling it fear. I'm calling it fear, but it's just an energy. That energy, anxiety, uncertainty, feeling unprepared. That's really what I'm saying when I say fear. And so that feeling I know is about a vibration. So I know that, okay, so that means that you're at least below this frequency. And this means that you need to do this thing and this thing so you can raise your frequency. So my go-to is to go outside with no shoes on and root. Put my feet in the grass and the dirt. Even if it's no under that, it's on the concrete.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can plant, and I take deep breaths, and I allow nature to take me and fill me with what I'm missing. And then of course I hydrate.
Okay.
That means I'm dehydrated.
Yeah.
I have not had enough water, and I have crazy thoughts because my body is in survival mode.
Yeah.
And so hydrate. And so those are the things that help me to reset and restructure my footing, to help me to remove that energy and that frequency of what feels like anxiety, uncertainty, and the lack of knowing, that feeling. And so, that's how I handle that.
Now, speaking of seasons, do you feel as though there is seasonal depression, or you feel like that's just a frequency that we are on? So depression is, like you talked about the law of polarity. I think depression, that word itself, is a very much extreme. I think what we miss is that I call it decompression. Most of us are in decompression mode. And if you have that seasonal winter, like the winter blues kind of feeling, that's decompression. That time is intentionally to get you to go inward. And we are so connected to wanting to be public and social and all those things. And the lack of that, which is it's a sign that you need to have this form of, and I don't want to call it isolation, but this time to repair, to rebuild, to release. And that's always how I use winter, which is my favorite season anyway. Okay. But so I know that it's bought on for a lot of people by season. I think it's just a lack of understanding of what season they're in. Not just what the weather, the outward season, but the inward season that we need. This is your time to, especially, it's not, because everybody doesn't feel that way. That's true.
And of course, part of it is the lack of vitamin D.
Yeah.
I mean, it will cause you to feel that sense of decompression or low energy, low, frequency. Yeah. Ma, do you have some thoughts on that?
I want to digress a little bit. When you talk about polarities and opposite energies, it is said that there's only one energy or one frequency, and there are polarities of the one energy. So anytime you're fearful, is because you're getting something you don't want. There's only two frequencies: love and fear.
Yeah, I think of a pendulum every time I think of the frequency. I think of that.
Exactly.
The degree of it. Yeah.
Right. So you always want to try and be more in the middle. Fear has a bunch of subcategories. It's either love or fear. And how we interact, the decisions that we make, the things that come out of our mouth, all of those are rooted in one or the other, either love or fear. And when you do your reflection time, hopefully you're reflecting at the end of the day. It's like, you reflect on things that happen, the things that were done, things that were said, things that weren't said, the things that weren't done. And you ask yourself, okay, well, maybe I could have said that a little bit better. But more importantly, why did I say that? Or why didn't I say that? So take some reflection time every day on how you be. You don't worry about other people. How do you respond to things every day? And I was kind of just in my zone, just thinking, and I was wondering, why is it that, let me get to the root of this thought. When I was thinking about why people do the things that they do, and what came to me was that there's only one source, and people will call that God. You call it whatever you want. But that creative energy, that creative source is all encompassing. And some people call it love. Call it what you want. It's not for us to debate. Everybody has their reasons why they call things certain names. But whenever you feel fearful or rejected, at the end of the day, it's because you do not feel part of the whole. And when people do things, anything out of anger or anything out of fear, when I really sat with this, it's like at the end result, the root of it is that they are fearful of not being part of the whole, not being accepted, or rejection. The fear of rejection is the root of everything. That is not rooted in love. When I really started to look at it, and I said, it's the fear of rejection. And if you take that even further, it is the separation from the whole, feeling separate from the whole. People are happiest when they are in a group that's harmonious. They are so happy. Go to a restaurant with you and your friends, and y'all just having a ball, laughing and kikiing and everything. Everybody starts to look over there. It's like, I want to sit over there with them.
Yeah.
So it's wanting to be part of a harmonious collective, which to me means that you want to be in the frequency of God, of the all. And when you separate yourself, God does not leave you. You separate yourself. So when you start to reconnect and remember who you are and why you're here, then you start to reconnect yourself with the all, with the collective, and you won't start to feel those things. And it's a process,
Definitely,
it's a process.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing your wisdoms and insight between the both of us. And our producer, who is that hidden gem sitting on the other side of the board, but just know she's a force. And you can also listen to her on Thursdays, right?
Yes, at 1 p.m., One Step Closer on podcasting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. We can't forget to give people the tools that they need.
Absolutely.
All right. So our topic today is about relationship karma. And what hurts did you plant first? And this is about overcoming past hurts. So this is my overview. It says relationships can be complicated, but they don't have to be, at least when you're learning from relationship lessons. Our lessons are often rooted in our previous choices or decisions and or can be generational consequences. They can also be found in our blind spots or the result of ignoring the signs. Either way, they are the fruit of seeds that were previously planted by us. That's important. Mm-hmm. When it comes to relationship karma, we are speaking to the understanding that often our awareness of discomfort and pain is the fruit of the choices that we made in a different season of our life. Those choices, whether they were good or without knowledge, come back around and can boomerang us. I like that term. Even when we don't know it at the time. We don't know the why. The why is rooted in the karma, and it allows us to live out the balance and put future lessons in perspective. And I just want to just pull this out because I know Maat talks a lot about this. So relationship karma is not to be confused with karmic relationships. A karmic relationship is a soul tie from previous lifetimes that often have unresolved connections and or unfinished business. It is the will of this lifetime to fix what has been broken, complete that which was incomplete, and to right or correct that which was wrong. Also, sometimes evidence of karmic relationships burn hot with passion, attraction, or no other strong emotion. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to let my aunt talk a little bit more, if you will, about that, about the karmic relationships.
Our family members, well, everybody that you have any interaction with is a karmic relationship. Now, karma is always given a bad name, like it's only negative, but that's not the case. You have what we'll just call positive and negative, or painful. I'll take that back. Painful and pleasurable instead of positive and negative. So there are some people that you have loving, positive relationships with, and there are people that you have negative and toxic relationships with. Your toxic relationships, you can guarantee, are karmic. That you came here to work something out with that person or those persons. Also remember that it is a lesson for you, and you, this is the hardest part for people to get. You chose it. We create, we design our life experience before we're born. For those that want to believe in karma and those that don't. But we chose the lessons. Now you would ask yourself, why would I do something like that with that person?
Or someone like that, right?
Right. Like, I mean, come on, make it make sense. Why would I do that? Because you're in a higher state of consciousness at that time. And it's not, the feeling and emotion is not attached to it. Example, say for instance, you were given a script to a play. There's sometimes you play the bad guy, and then sometimes you play the good guy. It's sometimes that you're just a person in the back, you know, and then there's times that you're a person that has an active role. Some people want to experience what they didn't experience in another lifetime. Some people that are, and this is why it's really important to not judge. Don't judge people for their walk, because you don't know what they're here for. You don't know what their lessons are. You don't know what their future is holding for them. So, including your children. So judge no one, not even yourself. So let's say, for instance, you decided that you need to strengthen yourself in being self-reliant and self-sufficient. Where in previous lifetimes you might have been the baby of a large family and you got spoiled and everything went your way and you got everything you wanted. You depended on everybody for everything and you weren't self-reliant. So this lifetime, it's like, okay, that's something that I need to get. So this lifetime, maybe you were born into a family where you had parents that have challenges. Maybe they both were addicted on drugs or something like that. And you were the oldest and you had to take care of the family. Being self-reliant. So that might be the way that looks. And those parents who were toxic, you in some other lifetime had some kind of interaction and relationship with them in order for you to live that experience out this lifetime. Maybe it was for you to forgive. You know? When we say
these are pretty hard truths. You might want to. Can we get it in a bite size? Can you have like a candy coated, gummy flavored wrapping?
No, those days are over. We're in the age of Aquarius. Time to tell the truth.
Time for truth. Time for truth. Yeah,
it's time to tell the truth. This planet is they say third dimension, in the third dimension, very, very low frequency. And so it's like, we always want the bubble gum and flowers in life, and it does not work like that. Go to another planet if you want that. But on this one here, it's like school. It's a school. It's a university. And when you go to school, you have friends. You kick it with some friends. You have some teachers you like. You have some teachers you don't like. But guess what you always do have? Tests. You have to learn stuff, and then you take a test. And for every level you're on, you get tested on that level. So when you pass that test, then you go to the next level. You might get a little bit of a vacation, like when you're out of school, you get 3 months, right? Summer vacation. You get a little bit of a rest before the next wave comes. Mm-hmm. But we always want the bubble gum and flowers. But when you understand what the journey is about, you'll change your perspective and you look at it differently, and you learn to grow to have an excitement for it. It's like, okay, this might sound crazy, and I trust me, it's going to sound crazy, but when you get to the point to see what this journey is really for, what is really about, what your role is in it, you're going to get excited about the challenges that are yet to come, because you have a different perspective now on why it's showing up. And you look for the whys, not the person that did it, because it's a karmic relationship and you all agreed for that experience. But why am I going through this? What did I learn? What did I learn from my 2 toxic parents? What did I learn from that sibling that just tortured me to death? What did I learn from that teacher that just rode my back? What did I learn from that neighbor that just loved me no matter what I did? They treated me, they gave me gifts. They taught me things. What did I learn from my grandmother, my grandfather? So when you really reflect on life and take the time to reflect on life and your path instead of on your cell phone, instead of watching movies, that where you've learned nothing.
The entertainment portion.
Exactly. Take that time to reflect on you and why you're here. Your life will start to change when you change your perspective.
I'd like to acknowledge this term because I want you guys to hear this. We talk about the whys, right? And you might assume that we only mean the WHYS. We are also talking about the WISE, the whys. Look for the whys. Mm-hmm. That's wise counsel, wise people, wise information, wise. Mm-hmm. So you have to do both. One is physical, one is spiritual. When you have that balance, you have the right set of tools. I just wanted to interject that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, my aunt. So we're going to move into part 1, this insight for discussion. So in spiritual metaphysical context, karma is the principle of cause and effect, where intentional actions, thoughts, and words create a ripple effect, influencing future experiences. It's a law of universal cause and effect, suggesting that the energy we put into the world, including our own actions, return to us in some way. Here are a few ways that it shows up. Are you guys ready? All right. So, and we talked about a few of these. So, action and reaction. Karma is often described as you sow and reap, right? The reaping and sowing season, meaning that positive actions lead to positive consequences and negative actions lead to negative ones, if you look at the words in that way. Okay, well, let's stop for a minute there because I think we talked a little bit about this, but I want to make sure that our listeners are using, and you should be taking notes here. You should be taking notes. You should have caught that why, the whys. You should have caught that one too as part of your tool set. So as we talk about action and reaction, I think in all of our conversation when we're looking at universal law, this one shows up. Reaping what you sow and sowing what you reap, right? And the title of this was, what past hurts did you plant first, right? And so I think this is a good example of how to reflect on that. And so I'm gonna give you guys one of my experiences, and don't judge me. Never. Don't judge me on this, right? So at one point in my life, I was younger and I was involved with a married man, and I knew when he told, so I didn't know he was married at first. So I had built up this expectation and this attraction for this particular person. And as I did that, I was like, okay, I got one more chance to see this person again, and it's on, right? And so what happened was at that third time, after I had mounted up all this energy behind it, my desire, my attraction, I had mounted all of this energy up about it. He told me he was married. And I got involved with him anyway. And he was rejecting me because he was married, and I took that personal, but I took it personal as a challenge. And so because I was dealing with rejection issues, I couldn't let it be about that. I made it about me, right? And so that was the choice I made. And I said laughingly to myself, you're going to pay for that because you knew it and you did it anyway, right? And so later on in my life, I was engaged, I was happy, and I found out that he was also engaged to someone else. And I fell apart. Man, I was so mad. I was steaming, hurt somebody mad, right? And the way that it happened to me was so humiliating. It was so super humiliating because both of them were sitting right there in front of me, having the conversation, and she was talking about how they were having sex in our bed and blah blah blah. I had one. Let me back up just a moment. I asked for the truth. I asked to know the full truth, where I couldn't make excuses for him or myself, and I got it laid out in black and white. No, in all white. Let me put it that way. It was laid out where there was no dispute, right? And so, one, I got what I asked for. But two, I got what the seed that I sowed. And I did not realize that at the time. This was all his fault and her fault and their fault. And I was a victim. And I held that mentality for a good number of years, until then one day in my reflections, when I was mature enough to hear it, I heard, you did it first. And I was like, no, I didn't. I would never do something like that to somebody. So really? Let's go back in your Rolodex, right? Let's go back in your timeline, your meridian path. Do you remember making this decision and laughing at yourself, knowing that you were going to pay for it? I was like, oh yeah. And that changed my whole mindset. But one of the lessons that I was learning at that time was about forgiveness. When people say, forgiveness is not really about the person, it's about you. That was true for me, and that's why I had to learn to forgive, because I planted that seed first. I initiated, I made somebody life, I victimized somebody else. And so now at this point, I'm like, oh no, not me. I'm falling all apart. I'm, bloody mad. But I did that. And if I didn't learn to forgive, which I did forgive, I actually had conversations with both of them, but I did forgive. I thought I was trying to forgive him. And Spirit kept working with me and saying what forgiveness was. I thought forgiveness was, we say forgive and forget. I thought forgiveness was, I'm making what happened all right. That's when I looked at forgiveness before in my life. That's how I considered. That's what made it so difficult. And so when Spirit was working with me, saying that you take the step toward the unforgivable, the thing that you believe is unforgivable, if you make room in your heart to have an open mind toward that, you take a step and God multiplies. We have a multiplying God. God multiplies your effort so that you can receive the blessings from forgiveness, which is peace. One of the ultimate blessings from real forgiveness, from something that you think or feel was so heinous and so a threat to you and your peace of mind, because you don't have peace really until you really have to forgive something of magnitude. When you forgive something of magnitude, and I've seen this happen. There's a sister that I know who had 2 daughters that were killed through domestic violence. 2 of them. And she was an attorney, and she went to one of the men. She actually ultimately forgave both of the men that murdered her daughters. And I was like, how is this possible? Who has that in them to be able to forgive and help heal somebody who did such a heinous act against you, right? Against your family. I mean, like all of that. And she said that it was an act of God, right? It was an act of intervention by God for her to find it in herself. And she helped others to learn how to forgive in that way. But I'm talking about ultimate peace. And when I had that initial experience, I called it the covenant of peace. It was a covenant of peace that was placed on me, but I thought I had done so much to be able to have that level of forgiveness, and it was really just about me. I was forgiving myself before I even knew that I was forgiving myself. So this topic today is really personal, as they always are, but I think so many people are stuck in this loop of unforgiveness. And because you're thinking that you're giving permission for somebody to have done what they've done and the hurts that they've had over you, and that's not what it is. So my challenge is for those who have hurt you, or that you in the spaces that you have felt hurt, that you step back and find where that seed was planted on your journey, so that you can really have a healing and an elevation behind that. And it's not just okay, well, yeah, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. And it's resent that festers in your body, because that body comes out, that resentment calcifies in your body, and it shows up as disease. And we wonder why we're having so many health challenges. It's not just about what you're eating. It's not just about the environment, because our bodies are made to repair itself if you take the right steps, if you know how to repair. Some of that repair is through food. Some of it is through environment. Some of it is through mindset. But the most important part, because I want you to remember that there's spiritual tools for spiritual things, and there are physical tools for physical things, but you need both, because you are both. You are both spirit and physical. And if you don't have the tools for both, you're not really healing. You're not really whole. And this journey is about learning that, and learning that in the spaces where true healing is necessary. That's why this podcast is the lessons for the journey. It doesn't say the lessons for the arrival. It doesn't say the fun, exciting things that we learn and do. And I have not arrived. I have elevated. And this has been elevation. So I'm giving you what do you call those books? What's the book that is like the shorthand for what is that book called?
Is it
Cliff Notes. It's the Cliff Notes.
Okay.
We're giving you guys the Cliff Notes for the journey. It's not a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. What we're giving you is the whys, the WHYS and the WISE. That's what we're sharing with you. That's why the hosts that have been drawn together, and the guests and the locations that we are in, is to help you get those two. Because remember, we are physical and spiritual, so we need spiritual and physical tools to balance. So hear me and understand the deeper message of what this lesson is about today. And so I know I've been going for a minute. So my auntie, anything you want to add, Chantel?
I just want to put a little different twist on.
Give it to us
on karma.
Give it to us.
There's individual karma, which is what we experience our own self, and then there's group karma. So you have group karma as a culture, as a city, as a state, as a nation, as global karma. So cultural karma, man has been on this planet for millions of years, opposite from what we've been taught. We've been taught a couple thousand years. That's not scientifically, it's been scientifically disproven. But I used to think about the Hutus and the Tutsis. Remember, those were two African tribes, for lack of the correct terminology, and they basically knew each other. But something happened, and what we know now is that they were armed and threatened. Their lives were threatened if they didn't kill the other one. So I don't know if the Hutus killed the Tutsis or whichever one it was, but they slaughtered almost everyone. And it's like it didn't make any sense to me. And then when I started thinking about karma, and you look at the thousands and thousands of years that man has been on the planet, and you look at the different cultures that have slaughtered villages, whole cultures, whole cities at one time, just obliterated them. The Native American culture, the indigenous black people that have always been here, just slaughtered. And if reincarnation is a real thing, and I know it's real because I remember a couple of lifetimes that I've incarnated, then that means that the people, if what's been done to you has been done by you. So maybe the people that were doing the slaughtering in a different lifetime are now being slaughtered in this lifetime. You look at the relationships between men and women, and how the domestic violence is unbelievable. It's off the charts now. So we're born men in different lifetimes, and we're born women in different lifetimes. We're born in different cultures, we're born in different cities. So we've experienced different things. But as a group and as a collective, have women mistreated men? And I would have to say, if it's being done to you, it's being done by you. And when we start to own behaviors that maybe we didn't do this lifetime, but according to spiritual law, it has been done by me. If it's happening to me, it's been done by me. And when we start to own our stuff and assume responsibility for the choices that we made either this lifetime or lifetimes previous, that we came back here this time to work this out, then we will start to change the narrative that we have, the belief systems that we have, and start owning responsibility, because nowadays nobody wants to be responsible for anything. So when we start to assume responsibility for the choices that we've made that we might not be conscious of now, and owning the fact that if this toxic relationship that I'm in now, if this man is able to do these things to me, or if this woman is able to do these things to me, then at some point in time I have done it. That doesn't mean that you allow it to continue to happen, but own the fact that there are no victims. We've done something in order for it to be done back to us. When you own that, start to change your thinking and your consciousness according to the law of attraction, you will magnetize a different experience to you. You are vibrating on the frequency of that person, which is the only way that you all can be in the same space at the same time. So when you do your inner work and your inner healing, your frequency will elevate. And theirs is not going to be on the same level as yours, and then that means you two cannot exist in the same space at the same time. And that's how you solve that problem.
Awesome. Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. Give it some. So, intention matters. The result of an action is not only determined by the act itself, but also by the intention behind it. An act done with a selfish motive might have different karmatic consequences than an act done with genuine compassion. Beyond a punishment and reward system, while karma can be perceived as a system of punishment or reward, it's more about understanding the consequences of our choices and how they impact the world around us, and subsequently ourselves. It's a natural law, not a moral judgment. And finally, rebirth in future lives, which is what Ma has been sharing with us. And some spiritual traditions like Buddhism, Hinduism, karma is also linked to the concept of rebirth or reincarnation, where accumulated karma can shape the conditions of a person's future lives. And so we're going to skip down to our part 2, that as we look at this conversation and we look at the seeds of hurt that we may have planted first, this is our conversation, and about how to overcome it. So we're not just going to leave you in this reflective state. We need to help you to overcome, so that you understand that, one, it's not a place for you to stay and live, but it is a lesson for you to learn and elevate. And that's where we want you to go. So now at our behaviors, choices, and lessons from our relationships, we sometimes forget how we acted from spaces of selfishness, greed, desire, attraction, pride, arrogance, and disregard and/or indifference. While the intention counts, give yourself some grace. You are not the person that you were then. You have gained not only knowledge and wisdom, but experience to share as the fruit of your lessons. Karma is not about harm. It is about balance, cleansing, and elevation. So here's the test. This is what I want to make sure that you all leave with. And Chantel, I do want to make sure we talk about the fatherhood brunch, okay, if you can help cue that. Yes. So part of this test that I would like for all of us to take is to review some of the most painful relationship hurts. Look deeper back into your, I call it the meridian path, but your past, your journey prior to that hurt, and explore where you applied a similar hurt to yourself or someone else. It does matter when you do it to yourself, by the way. It helps to follow the pain and discomfort to arrive at the point of origin. Once you have acknowledged it, forgive yourself, forgive others, and thank God and the universe for setting you free. So understand that this process It may not be easy. Some things may be less painful than others to review and go back and look into. And I'm talking about even those things that are so heinous, even those things that are so unforgivable, even those things that have broken complete trust. These are those areas. Some people call it a church hurt. I know you've heard that happens in the space where you think you're safe in a church, and there things happen in that environment. I'm not suggesting that you stay in that environment. I'm suggesting that you reflect and you find seeds first that may have been sown. And it could be just from the actions. I can recall, I consider myself a good person, but I have done some not so good things on my journey. And where I lacked maturity and where I was at that time in my life, it may have just been indifferent. And I cringe at some of the things that have come out of my mouth in judgment. I cringe now, but I hear it, so I know that's not something I want to say and repeat. So if I said those things from a sense of arrogance or pride or indifference, and it's easy sometimes to look down on somebody. Oh, I wouldn't be with them because they don't have the right clothes or the right shoes, the material part, right? The physical part. We may have had those experiences and those conversations, but you got to pay for that. That means that if it was done by you, it's done to you. So when you got mad that somebody said something off-putting about you at work, on your job, or you were out somewhere and somebody said something really mean or racial slurs, all of these things, if it, like my aunt talks about, right? Find your seeds. Find your seeds, accept the fruit, make your apologies, make your peace, and release it so that you can elevate into the world and put back into it those things you no longer want to do or hear or think or say or believe, right? That's how we elevate, because we release those things that have been holding us, that have been weighing us down. And when you're feeling the depression or the decompression or those thoughts or the thoughts of hopelessness, what's happening in this environment is part of our thoughts. Because we couldn't be in this space and this frequency if we're not a part of that consciousness. So we have to stop feeding this consciousness and put back into the world what we want it to be. That's how we create the world, the space in us. If it's not in us, how can you bring it into the world? How can you take that from the spirit realm, bring it into this physical realm with our thoughts, our words, and our actions? It's the process of manifestation. And there's some other things that we need to master, and we need to be about this mastery if we want to see the world in a different place. We can put it all to an end on one accord. And that's what we're elevating to. That's where our women are elevating to. But we have this inner work yet to do. We have these areas of forgiveness. We have these lessons of elevation and release of past hurts. If we don't do that, it doesn't matter where you're positioned in this world. You can't elevate. You can be moved up and promoted, but you can't elevate. And we need your elevation. Because we need for you to reach back and pull another sister up. We need for her to reach back, pull another man up. We need him to reach back and pull another boy up. When we're talking about real change, when we're talking about the environment and what that looks like, the world around us is a reflection of what's happening in us. Let's get it together. Let's go. And so, as we talk about the elevation of men, this event that we're having, the Fatherhood Award Brunch on June the 21st, is another one of those powerful opportunities for that forgiveness that we talked about. If men in your life, the father images in your life, those people who you've trusted, you want to offer forgiveness, bring them to this event. Honor the men who are coming to this event. Be a part of that breaking of that energy and uplift that fatherhood component. Because if we don't, we know that the lack of fatherhood is a large part of the frequency that we're feeling today. because we have promoted and we have also pushed men to a limit. We need to bring our family back. We need to bring both parts of us back. We need to continue our harmonious relationships. And we do that when we honor it with our thoughts, our words, and our actions. So your attendance at this event can reverberate that same good energy across time and space. So come with us. You have an opportunity to bring a picture or send me a picture in advance. Talk about your fatherhood, that man that stepped in as a father. We call them stepfathers, but they're actually stepping in as father, right? Godfathers, all of those men that are a part of your life. This is an opportunity for you to honor them. Whether they're here in memory or they're here physically, this is a great place to do it. So you can go to yourinspiredjourney.com. That's Your Inspired with a D. You can get your ticket there. But by all means, come, show up, be a part of this good energy, because it is a life-changing event. So thank you for reminding me to go back and make sure that we share this information. There are lots of important things coming up. And here's a surprise for you, that in the month of July, I'm putting her on the spot again, as I always do. In the month of July, my aunt is going to be hosting Lessons for the Journey, and she's going to be elevating her teachings, her practices, because she's an amazing person, right? She has the wisdom, the wise, and the knowledge, as you know. Her business is Relationship First Aid. So let's close out with a little bit more about Relationship First Aid and what can people expect from July.
She has both. She has the WHYS and the WISE.
That's right. So. Bring it. Let's go.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Well, I think I want to focus on some of the things that are most important. Stress, stress management, forgiveness, and probably the self-love. And I'm just what I always do is I let Spirit guide me, because what I intellectually think would be good, Spirit might have other ideas,
Absolutely.
and throw me a curveball. And so, but those are some of the things that I would like to address, because those are some of the areas that are just disruptive in everyone's life, that we all are having to deal with. Lack of self-love, forgiveness, and dealing with just the everyday stresses, what that looks like, how to go about it from an mentally, emotionally, spiritual, and physical standpoint. So I do have a little bit of information and knowledge base on natural remedies that can be done for assisting in stress therapy for not only yourself but for your child, and other therapies that you can look up and do yourself, like tapping. Tapping is extremely, it doesn't cost you a dime. You can go in and download the process online. It costs you nothing. You do it as you need to. You could do it in the privacy of your home. Takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So there are some things that can be done that don't cost you any money at all. So I think those are some of the areas that I'd like to touch on.
Thank you. July is going to be a perfect month. This happens to be my reset month, and so I'm still doing things, but it's that season, and so that's kind of where we carve out that extra time to reset. And I have spent a lot of time listening to Spirit, so I can make sure that I stay aligned. Because my days at the cabin in the winter with the snow and the fireplace, those days are gone. So I'm so excited that you joined us today on Lessons for the Journey. And I'm so happy to have around me so many amazing women who are on this journey, who are taking these reflective look into our own lives and bringing those insights back and pouring them back into ourselves, into our families and our communities, and most of all into these sister circles, these network of women whose work it is this season. All of us are being called to a work. But the women, we have a particular role in increasing and how fast this season is going to happen. That's part of our work. And when you see all the things that are happening with women, and they're going here and they're doing this, all these amazing things, it's not just about us individually, it's about us collectively. And so I'm putting this out there again. I am committed to working with women, mothers, and grandmothers. This is part of my journey, and where there are synergy between us, let's go, let's do it. We have the Women's Summit every year. There's always some activity that we're doing to connect us. And I'm increasing my visibility, so if you have opportunities for that, Ma and I are both speakers. We have lots of experience. We have lots of topics that we can share. But we also this is a part of what we do, not just in the spiritual part, but in the physical part. So this is how we feed our families. This is how we, are able to create tools, and we have books and all these resources to help. So there are lots of things that we can do to connect. So if you are out there and you're listening and you have a sister circle, you have a women's organization, you have a network that you believe something that we can bring to that network, please, let's have this conversation. I appreciate phone calls directly. It's at 313-759-7855. You can Google me. You can go to my website. You can find me on Instagram. But let's connect. Let's stop delaying the things that we know we need to know, we need to do, and the guidance and the wisdom we need to get there. So I thank you for listening. I am Dr. Hetheru. I am making myself available to make sure that our work collectively continues to rise. Again, that's 313-759-7855. Let's go. Stay clear. Have a great day.